let's go ahead and look through some things. So we're going to try and take about 20 minutes. And again, if you have Q&A, put it in the Q&A window, and we'll try and get to it within that time. Got a series of topics today. Some of these around how you're creating users and updating users, and then it's all around how can I see what they're doing. And we're going to start off with templates to create users. I'm hoping most of you are already pretty familiar with templates. The idea with templates is if I go into my application administration console, and I go to configuration, I go down to my foundation data, and I look at people, there's this place called template. And the idea here is you can have templates for common things that your users are set up as. And you can see out of the box, BMC is included, a bunch of them for change, for service desk, for service owner, things like that. And these templates are going to give you various permissions. So let's just take a look at the service desk analyst template and take a look at this. So if I use this template for one of my new users, it's going to automatically give them these permissions: incident manager, master, problem viewer, change viewer. It's going to not associate it with them any support groups or any functional roles, but it will do some other things. So you can create templates for your common archetype of employee. How do we apply the template? We go ahead and come over to Application Administration, Standard Configuration. We go to Create a People Record. And I'm going to go ahead and fill in a little bit of information. I'm going to be Anne Brock. Then I'm going to go ahead and select a template. And we'll go ahead and choose that Service Desk Administrator or Service Desk Analyst one. Go ahead and select it. Oops, I do need to put in my login ID. They do go ahead and give you prompts along here. So I'll say my login ID is Anne. I'll go ahead and put in an email address. And just do that undefined phone number. I'll put in my real phone number. Select it. And now it's applying everything from that template into my record. There may be other things I want to do out here. For example, I probably want to do a site. And eventually I'm going to want to do a support group and things like that as well. But for now, I can go ahead and add me as a user. Oh, but it's going to force me to put in a support group. Well, that's annoying, right? Why do I have to put it in as a support group? Why isn't that part of my template? Well, we can fix that. Let's go ahead and go back to that template. And let's say, hey, I want more information out here. I don't want to have to pick support group at the time I'm doing it because I'm doing a whole bunch of people in the same support group. So let's go ahead and pick a site. Let's go ahead and pick a support group. And now my template's going to be even more useful. So you can take existing templates and modify them. Or, of course, you can start new templates and put in the permissions and roles that you want to do. I'm going to go ahead and give me a functional role. I'm going to be service desk. Oh, I want to be incident manager. Let's go ahead and add a functional role. So an existing template, change a few things. See, I'm going to be fixed. Let's go ahead and save that and close it. And now I'll have that stuff filled in when I go ahead and create my new user. So templates are just a great way to have your standard stuff set up so you don't have to do it every time for the same people, for the same kind of person when you come in here. So we're going to go ahead and select that template again. As we all know, I need to put in my login ID. I'm going to go ahead and put in my email address. I'm going to go ahead and pick that phone number again. Still some things you have to do because those things are individual by person. Find that particular template. And for those of you that have gone through and done this one by one, where you're in your people form, you add a user, you put them in, you get it done, then you go in, you do the next one, you add a user, you add all the permissions and things, you get it done, and then you find out you forgot to give them financial manager access or something like that. Templates are a great way to go. I'll go ahead and confirm that password, and now I've got my new user in there. Done through a template. And again, that keeps me from having to remember all the permissions I want to give to this person one by one. So as we saw, my Service Desk Analyst template had the permissions, Incident Master, Problem Viewer, Change Viewer. But let's say I did something wrong on this template, and I really wanted another permission group. Well, I could go to each of my Service Desk Analyst people and add another permission group, or I can come into here and add something I might want to do. Maybe I don't want Change Viewer anymore. I'm going to make them all Change Masters. the fixed licenses, add and modify, and now I've updated this template. Well, I have the ability to update a group of users. Hopefully I'm not going too fast. I'm trying to make sure I hit that 20 minutes. But so first, what we've done so far is we used the template to create a person. We didn't like everything about that because the template wasn't complete enough. So we added a couple of things into that template and we created a person. We created Anne. If I go over here and look at my people record, and I find myself, we're going to see that what my permissions and things are set to. My login access details, right now, incident viewer, change viewer. And then we said, well, gee, I should have done this template with change master instead of change viewer. So I updated the template. Now I absolutely could update myself one at a time, go to everybody has change master and apply it to them. But I have the ability to do it as a group. And that's the next step we're going to talk about, being able to do things as a group. And hang on a sec, I'll be right back with you. So the next step on the agenda was, how do I do a mass update of my users? How can I update a group of people to all get this change master permission from this template instead of having to do them one by one? So again, application administration, I'm going to the custom configuration tab. I'm going down to foundation. I'm going down to people and going to people management console. I know I'm pretty quickly through the templates, but again, I'm hoping most of you have done those. I don't know if you've done the people management console, so I'll try and do this a little bit slower. I've got my users here, and I can absolutely make some choices to narrow down this user list. This is really useful if, maybe you change the name of support groups, you're going to move them from one support group to another. If you know they're all in the same department, if you've got some way to narrow them down, it makes this console much easier to use. If everybody's got the exact same information and you only want to change a handful of them, you can do that without searching for them, but it just gets more cumbersome. So one of the things you want to think about, if you need to update people on a mass basis, what data field makes the most sense to find those people. Now, for the sake of time, I'm just going to update my record, but of course I could update multiple records here. But you find the people you want to update, you highlight them, you come to this quick action. So I've highlighted the user I want to update. I said I want to update them, and we get to this job console. And we're just going to do a test name here. And here's where I select the template that I want to apply. I'm just going to reapply that Service Desk Analyst template. I could have done a template with other things in it, but in this case I updated Service Desk Analyst, so I'm going to reapply that template. If I didn't want to use a template, you can see I could actually update some information without a template. So if I just wanted, I could have just chosen the change management functional role. I wouldn't have had to do it through a template. Up to you how you want to use this. So here I can also change the application permissions. Sorry, that's where the change master would have been. Of course, y'all are looking at me going, Anne, you looked at the wrong place. So I could have just come down here and said change master, or I want to change functional roles, add functional roles. I could have done it up there. But in this case, I'm just going to reapply the template. And I'm going to go ahead and hit this Perform Update button. A lot of you, when you started your remedy system, if you're like most of my customers, the first time you did the people, they didn't come through quite right. There was a permission missing. There was a functional role missing. There was something that we didn't think about on initial startup, and that's very normal. Until you've been using the system a little bit, it's sometimes hard to know all the permissions people should really have. Maybe you didn't think you were going to use a financial tab, so you never bothered giving them the financial management permission, and now you are. So this is a great way to update people, not having to do it one by one. You don't have to export and import them in. You don't have to do anything like that. You just go ahead and come in and use the people management console. Saves you from having to use a data management spreadsheets and things like that to go ahead and do that. I think our job is done now. It's really hard to see with this typeface, but yeah, the end time is in there, so I think we're good. If I did this right, if I come back in here and I research my particular record, I should now have change master as one part of my permission group. And indeed I do. So you're thinking, Anne, it would have been a lot simpler for you just to give yourself this permission, and absolutely. But when you're talking 50 people, talking 100 people, and you need to give them all a permission or a functional role or something else, that mass people management console is going to be your friend. That's the one you're going to want to use so that you can get those kinds of things done. I'm going to pause a second to check the Q&A window. Again, I hope I'm not going too fast, but this will be recorded. You can go back in and look at this later as well. Okay, so we created templates. We then did a mass update of one record, but we did the mass update. What else can we do with our users? What other kinds of useful things do you all want to know about your users? Tracking licenses. This is a biggie, right? Who's using which licenses? How do I see my licenses? How can I track my licenses? What kind of things are going on? And we're going to hit a few places here, so hopefully, again, I'm not going to go too fast. I'm going to start off in AR system administration. Assuming you have administrator access, I assume everybody on the phone is probably an administrator. You will come down here to the AR system administration console, and that gets you into your AR system administration. And we're going to hit a couple things out here. One of the things is something BMC may already have asked you to run. When they go into audit, they're going to ask you to come down to System, General, Add or Remove Licenses, and they're going to ask you to generate this license usage report. When you click on that button, you're going to get a time range, and they'll probably ask you to do it, for 6 months or a year, whatever makes sense. I'm going to go ahead and do it from January until today, and generate the report. This is going to show you the max number of licenses used versus the number you have on your system. This is going to start telling you if you're maxing out. Just to make our view easier, I'm going to go ahead and auto-fit column width. So now I can start seeing, now I'm on a demo system, so I tend not to run out of limits. I don't have that many people. But I can see my high count, at some point there were 56 people using AR fixed licenses. But I have a capacity of 100, so I'm okay. If I go down and kind of look a little bit further, I can see my incident management user fixed. I've had a high of 23, and again, I have 100 incident management user licenses, so I'm okay there. So this really starts giving you a nice picture of what's going on. It can come especially nice with floating licenses, because those are the ones you really want to make sure you're not maxing out. You don't want people coming to the system with a float license and being told, hey, you can't do anything because the floating licenses are all used up. I don't have any floating licenses in this particular demo system. That's why we have zeros over here. But if I did, and if I had people using them, I would see that maximum count. So if that count starts getting close to my total number of licenses, that's when I might want to say, hey, I need to buy some more floating licenses. Or maybe some of those people should be on fixed licenses. So this is a great report to start that license thinking. Do I need more licenses, or do I need to reallocate them? So that's always the first step I do when I'm doing license, or look at my user licenses. And again, that's coming into add, remove licenses, and generating that license usage report. But there's another very cool thing on the AR System Administration Console. And I'm hoping some of you have hit that before, but if not, if you go into Application, and you go into Users, Groups, Roles, and you click on that Users, you get, that's actually not where I was planning to go. Don't you love it when I hit the wrong thing? And I wanted to go to Users, but I wanted to go to License Review. I apologize. License Review. This is cool because you can see what's going on right now. So I want to look at my application, my current users on my applications, and maybe I want to see who's using incident management right now. So right now, Alan is the only one who's in Remedy Incident Management. If I look at Change Management, he's the one in Change Management. So you can start seeing who's using which applications. But it's not just current. I can also look at registered users. Who is everybody who has Change Management access? Remember, I got added in with a fixed Change Management license. We just did that. Here are all the people licensed for Change Management. So you start getting a pretty fast idea how many people are assigned which applications, and you can see how many people are using them. And of course, you can look at the server licenses as well. Michelle is logged in right now. She just doesn't have to be an incident or a change. Hasn't pulled a license yet. So this is, to me, is really nice because I can just really start focusing on what's going on right now, what kind of things are happening, and then again, who all does have access. So I really like this little utility. It just gives us a quick glance of what's going on. And you can, by the way, release the user. So if I wanted to release Alan from one of his particular things, I could go ahead and bring him up, bring up his record, highlight him, and I could release him. So if you are running out of float licenses, this is a way to clear out the float pool. Maybe you see some people on who you know are really not in there. Maybe they went to lunch. You go ahead and release their licenses. But really, you want to rationalize your float licenses so you don't have to worry about that. So again, AR System Administration, Application, User Groups, License Review. But there are a couple other things you can do. Those two from here are really good. Don't get me wrong. Those are great ways to get started. But if you go to your server information page, and I apologize if I went too fast, went to AR System, Server Information, it brings up this thing you've probably seen before. On your Configuration tab, down here you have License Tracking. Yours is probably set to Disabled right now. If you start tracking it, that's where you can really get some other good information about your licenses. So I've set it to all licenses, not just to write licenses. I applied it. I did that this morning. What did that buy me? Let me go ahead and come up to a couple screens here and make sure I have the right page here. And I had way too many tabs open up here. Let me go ahead and close some of these out and get to where I want to go. Okay, this is the AR System Historical License Usage. I don't know if you all have hacked your URLs yet. You can bring up, if you have it set up, you can bring up forms, you can search for forms and that kind of thing. I'm big into hacking URLs. So if I know I want to get to the AR System Historical License Usage form, I tend to just come up here. I go after that on BMC-S. I type AR System Historical License, hit enter. And if I didn't do it right, I didn't type something in wrong, but assuming I typed it correctly, Historical License Usage, it's going to go ahead and bring up that form. So you can hack your URLs to get to forms. If you're not sure where the link to them is in the system, you can always hack your URLs, put your form name in there, and get to it. So I'm going to go ahead and search, and this is my historical. I can see Bob was logged on earlier today. He's not logged on right now, but he is logged on earlier. Michelle's here. I can start seeing some of the users that have been on here and what their license type is. And I can see, when they acquired it, when they released it, and I can start getting some of that information out. If Bob's in there for 8 hours and Bob has a float license, maybe I need to change his license type. You can see that Alan's been the main one in. He's in his various applications up here, so I can take a look at those as well. So historical license shows me what people have logged in the past. There's a similar form, AR System Current License Usage. If you're hacking your URL, make sure you have usage on there, like I forgot on the historical, but AR System Current License Usage, that is for who's on it now. So again, I can search, I can see who's on there. And remember, we saw Michelle was in there active. She's on there with AR user. But basically, we had Alan in there with the incident management. So the current user form, the historical ones, also give you a lot of good information if you want to start seeing who's on. Okay? And I think I probably just skipped, so we've talked most about this slide. We talked about the license report to add licenses, license review in AR System Administration, and then enabling license tracking and looking at those two particular forms, current licenses and historical licenses. I think you're going to find you're going to get so much information from there that it's going to make it much easier to decide, do you need new licenses or do you need to reallocate them? The second to last thing is logging user activity, and you absolutely can log user activity. That's another thing that can get you a lot of information. I come back to my server information. Remember, that's where I set license tracking on. I come back to there's a tab called Log Files. And you can choose to log your user log to a file or to a form. If you do form, that's what you're meant to do. I said to file earlier. I tend to like if you did do it to a file, you can view it by clicking this view button, or you can get to your form through the view button. But you can go ahead and track your user tracking. Now, one warning, generally this is fine. We have had some problems in the past where sometimes user logging gets so big, maybe it slows down the system a little bit. So I wouldn't turn this on all the time. But absolutely, when you're starting to think about who's using what kind of things are going on, should somebody be fixed who's now float? Should somebody be float who's now fixed? This is a good way to do it. So you can log your users for a little bit, and you can start searching for however you want to do it. Let's say I'm going to go ahead and search for Alan and see what his records are like, and it gives you a lot of information. Now, probably what you're going to want to do is report this, put it into Excel, and really work on it over there because it's not the easiest to work on with this. But you can start seeing I've got all the information about Alan, when he logged in, what kind of licenses, those kinds of things over time. So again, this starts helping you rationalize your licenses. This gives you a lot more information than you might need. I would use those current users and historical users first. But if you do want the raw detail about who's logging in and when they're logging in, turn on your user logging, either to file or to form. I like doing it to form because then I can export it out into Excel through a report. But whatever works for you all. Again, that's done through AR System Administration. In the server information, you go to that logging tab, and then you're going to be able to go ahead and set your logging, either to file or to form. Okay. The last thing I wanted to talk about, and I'm hoping all of you know this, it has tripped up more people than I know of, so I wanted to give you one tip on the user form. I'm going to come back up here and hack my URL again. I'm going to click right after that slash. Maybe I shouldn't say hack, but I'm going to modify my URL. And sometimes I'm looking for things for a group. If I click on this group list, I go, well, my group's not in there, I guess. Type a character. If I'm looking for my, my service desk group, I type an S. There are all the groups that you're used to seeing in other areas, right? Problem user, problem viewer, all the permission groups, all those kinds of things. So there are a lot of groups down here. It's just when you first bring up that group list, it's got all the numbered groups first. So hit an A or something, get down in the group list. So if you're looking for example, for everybody who's part of the problem user group, we can go ahead and find problem user. We can search on it and see who all is part of the problem user group. And that can be pretty useful, again, when you're trying to figure out who has permissions to what, who should you be talking to about it, should you be adding more people to the group. But this will tell you pretty quickly who is a member of that group. Maybe it's the knowledge management groups that you're trying to rationalize. So I just wanted to show that because I know it stripped me up, it stripped people I know up. When you bring that up, go ahead and hit a character, and you'll get down in these, and you'll get to the group names you're used to. And I think that was my final tip for today. I think I ran just a little bit long. I'll try not to do that in the future ones. But hopefully there was a nugget or two of information out there that might be useful to you all. And again, if you have any Q&A, I don't see any in the Q&A window. But if you have any after this, please do contact RightStar. We have a lot of resources that can help you. And if you're looking at this saying, Anne, I really don't want to manage all of this, RightStar does offer remote administration services. So if you want us to take on some of the administration of your system, we're absolutely willing to do that. But we also want to make sure you have the tools to take care of your system yourself as much as possible, as much as you desire. That was it for today. Thank you so much for your time.